Hey there, everybody. Pleasant, looks like you're ready for this episode.
Darn tootin', my friend. I sure as am.
Well, we're going to be talking about dandelion wine. This bottle that I'm holding right here, I made 6 years ago. I bottled this 6 years ago. You can see some of the sediment there in the bottom, but we're going to drink it together, and I'm going to teach you how to make your own dandelion wine. What do you think about that, Daryl Pleasant?
Oh, I'm like a little girl standing in the line for the My Little Pony movie.
Yeah, I'm excited too. Pleasant, everybody, the hillbilly pickle, the mascot for The Practical Woodsman, and I'm Rut, the creator and host of The Practical Woodsman. That's right. It's my genius which has brought this all into existence. Scientists and philosophers everywhere, studying my noggin, try to figure out how it works and harness its powers. Let's do the musical introduction to get us all in the mood, what you say, winkety winkety, and then we'll come right back, start talking about this dandelion wine and how you can make your own. So I corked this dandelion wine 6 years ago. It was right at the beginning of the pandemic in 2020. Everybody was shut down. And I said, well, I need to get out and get my dandelion wine going this year anyway. And so that's what I did. Took my daughter. She's grown a lot since then. And this stuff is highly alcoholic. I made it just right, so it doesn't take too much to get me all, tipsy and everything. Pour this here. All right. 6-year-old dandelion wine. Can I pour you some there, Pleasant?
Well, boy, what do you think? I ain't here for the free air conditioning.
All right, here you go. All right, that ought to do it. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers.
Yeah, it's really nice. Really nice and light and summery. But maybe you're interested in making your own dandelion wine. So let's go back in time 6 years ago, and I'll show you step by step. I'm going to watch this with you, and we will talk about the process as we go. How's that sound to you? How's it sound to you, Pleasant?
Oh my, that's really good. Yeah, sounds really good to me. Roll the film.
Oh, look how cute my daughter was. She's still that cute though, by the way, just bigger.
We're picking dandelions, and we're going to make dandelion tea.
So if you're going to do this, you got to get out like March, April. I think usually toward the end of March, right at the beginning of spring.
Let's do it.
Early March, right toward the beginning of April. You want to get out there and get those dandelions when they're all flowered. Which, a lot of harvesting type stuff
Only 900,000 more to go.
involves you dropping whatever you had planned and doing what you can when nature says you can do it. Because you missed that window. Because if you miss that window, it's gone until the next year. You just have to wait till the next year to do it. So here I'm out at my buddy's house, Lambert, one of my best friends, went to grade school together. So I called him up. I said, don't mow your grass.
Wow, look at that.
Don't mow your grass this
That's
weekend.
cool.
I'm going to come get your dandelions. And he said, come on out. And so he gave my daughter a little joyride here in his side-by-side. Mr. Lambert, he's a good man. So Eloise and I, my daughter, picked a ton of dandelions that day, as you're about to see. So I want to tell you something about these dandelions. When you pick them, as soon as you pick them, they begin to wilt. So when you first pick them, of course the flowers are all bushy. But as soon as you stick them in the bag, they start to wilt. They start to close up, and they don't look bushy, and they don't look pretty and fluffy like that no more. So I take them home, and then what I do is I cut the ends off of them there, because I don't want the bud.
See this? I cut off the end, and now all I've got is the flowers.
I don't want the bud. All I want are the flower petals. A little bit of the green at the bottom ain't gonna hurt nothing. I try to cut most of the green off, but you gotta think, whatever you put into the pot, there's gonna affect the flavor of the dandelion tea that you're gonna make. See, it's just like if you're making sassafras tea or any kind of tea. What you do is you make boiling water, you boil that in boiling water.
All right.
And that boiling process takes out all the flavors and the stuff out of the sassafras root or the dandelion flower or the whatever tea you're making. Even if you're making mint tea, you can go out into the yard, pick spearmint or mint. You boil that. All those flavors come out into that hot boiling water. And that's what you're doing with these dandelions. You're cutting up all these flowers. You're making a dandelion flower mash out of all the flowers. Then you're going to boil those flowers to get all the flavor and all the nutrients and all that stuff out of the dandelion flowers, as you're going to see here in a little bit. But any little thing is going to affect the flavor, ultimately going to affect the finished product, the finished flavor. So I'm trying to cut away as much of the green as I can and just keep the yellow part.
Right this year.
So it's kind of a lengthy process doing that. I just put on a baseball game or listen to something on the radio and work, kind of let my mind wander. It's kind of a peaceful, therapeutic process to this.
Yeah, as soon as I finish this work, it's going to take me a while. My daughter and I this morning went out to my buddy's house, and we picked a bunch of big mess of dandelions. And now what I'm doing is I'm taking them and I'm cutting the bottoms off of them, so that the only thing I get is the flower. And then I'm dumping the flower into this pot here. See that? I've been working on this since about 10 o'clock this morning, and it is now 3 o'clock. So it's a big long process, this part of it. This is the third year that I've tried to make this wine, and the first year wasn't too bad. The second year was a bust. So what I've done is I've learned from my mistakes from last year, and I'm excited about correcting those mistakes. I've thought long and hard about what I did wrong, and I've thought long and hard about how I can make it right. Try some things that don't work, go back to the drawing board. Once you've learned something, you never know less tomorrow than you knew today, or you knew the day before. Now you see what you made me do? I just tossed a weed in my dandelions. Got to get that out. I'm going to be here for a while.
Dandelions by themselves don't have anything to ferment. They don't have any sugars. So later, what we're going to do is we're going to add some fruits and stuff and a whole bag of sugar, a whole pound of sugar, in order to give the whole mixture something to ferment. All right, so here we have the dandelion flower mash. as I call it. I don't know what other folks call it. But this is what we're going to boil and make a tea out of. And that tea, we're going to add sugar to, we're going to add some other fruits, and we're going to add yeast and let that ferment. I think the sweet spot for a process like this is about 3 months. You're going to need about 3 months for this to do it right. Now, I've seen people do it. They'll do it in like 3 days or a week or something like that. I want the maximum amount of alcohol percentage in my dandelion wine, and so I dragged the process on for like 3 months. And so I think I started this at the end of March, and I finish her up at the beginning of June. And I've got several bottles. I'm still drinking it, and I'm still enjoying it. I kind of, take care with how quickly I go through it, because I always want to have one on hand, and it's a lot of work to do this. So, you don't want to do it probably every year, but because you can have a yield of 20 bottles of this dandelion wine from 1 year, and you can make that last for a long time. It won't go bad. I was thinking about making more dandelion wine this year, and I just didn't get to it. In fact, I called Lambert up, my buddy, and I'd said, don't mow your grass, I'm going to come out and pick your dandelions. He said, all right. So he went without mowing his grass that weekend, and then I just couldn't get out there. So I didn't get to do it this year. I'll have to wait until next year to do it again. Here we are, boiling the dandelion flower mash. We're just boiling it nice and long, getting everything out of those dandelions. Now, here's something I want you to know. I did this 3 years in a row. The first year wasn't too bad. The second year was terrible. And the third year I thought was perfect. The one you're watching right now. So you boil all this, and you get, you take a mesh, and you get all those flower petals out of there. And now you're going to want to put some kind of fruit in there. The first couple of years I used apples, I used plums, I used peaches, but what you get with that is you get a flavor that is not anything, you don't taste the dandelion. And I say to myself, well, if I'm going to be making dandelion wine, I want it to taste like dandelions. I want to taste the dandelions. So I started picking fruits that I thought complement the dandelion taste. So in this year, this batch here of dandelion wine that you're watching me make, I chose to use lemons and limes, and I thought that was a really good combination, much better than like apples and strawberries and all that other stuff. The reason why you have to use fruit with the dandelion tea to make dandelion wine, again, is because the dandelion tea doesn't have any sugars in it, and the yeast needs sugar to ferment in order to ferment and make it into a dandelion wine, an alcoholic beverage. So you put the fruit in there. You see here, I've already put in a whole pound of sugar. I put that sugar in there, then I cut up some limes, and I think actually I used pears. I think I've got some pears in there. So I used limes and pears to make this dandelion wine, and I thought it turned out perfect. I think those pears, just subtle flavor. And the limes, and here's your yeast. You can use special wine yeast if you want to. I didn't. I just used regular bread yeast that I got from the local Piggly Wiggly. I know, it says Kroger's on the tag. But I use Piggly Wiggly as to reference supermarkets in general. All right, so here's my yeast. You want to let that boiled water there, that boiled tea, you want that to cool down. You want it to be lukewarm. If you put that yeast in too early and that water's too hot, it'll kill your yeast. So you got to wait. You got to be patient and wait and let that dandelion tea that you've been boiling, you want that tea to come down and cool to lukewarm. And now you put your yeast in there, you mix that all up, and now you're going to want to cover this, and we're going to leave it overnight. Come back the next morning and see if that yeast has started to ferment those sugars in the granulated sugar we put in there, and also the sugars in the fruits that we've put in there. So I just cut up an old t-shirt, used a rubber band, that keeps the critters out. Go to bed, come back the next day. Perfect. That's exactly what you want to see. You want to see that the very next day after you've left it sit overnight. That's that yeast going to work. That's that yeast turning those sugars into alcohol. And the more sugar you've got in there, the more alcohol you'll end up with. Another day, come back and check on it again. Yeah, that's exactly what you want. That bubbling and all that activity going on in there. That's a good sound. That's an excellent sound when you're trying to make any kind of alcohol. Your dandelion, fermented alcohol. So our dandelion wine's looking real good here. Interesting to think that what you're looking at right there in that pot from 6 years ago is exactly what I've got in my cup right now that I'm drinking. It's a wonderful process. Wonderful process. Everybody should do it. So I take the pot down and I leave it down. I've got a basement, a nice cool basement, and I've got this section of it. It used to be a coal room. They used to dump coal in here because everybody around here heated with coal. So this is an old coal room, and I take the pot down there into that nice cool place, and I leave it for like 3 months. I'll go down, check on it. I'll, take a spatula or something, and I'll stir that fermenting dandelion tea, and it works out real good. After 2 or 3 months, I give that yeast plenty of time to turn as much of that into alcohol as it will. And then I got my bottles out, as you're going to see here. We're going to filter this because there's a lot of sediment that ends up. It's impossible to keep sediment from ending up in your pot. It comes from the petals, it comes from the environment, it comes from everything. But so when you go to transfer your dandelion wine from the pot, from the cauldron that it's been fermenting in, you're going to want to filter that. You're going to want to filter all that sediment out of there. So that's why I'm using an old coffee filter here. And I'm pouring the dandelion wine. It is actually wine now because it's had like 3 months to ferment. And so I'm just using a scooper, passing that through a filter into a jar. And from that jar, then I'm going to transfer it to the bottles. And believe it or not, you will still end up with sediment. It's, if you don't want any sediment at all, that's going to be a big, arduous task. I mean, you're going to have to filter it like 19 times. But, for a home brew, I'm not really too concerned about some sediment. I just want to get the most sediment out of there. So that's why I'm using this filter. I get most of the sediment out of there. Looking good. Looking nice and good and yeller. There's my bottle. Pour that in there. Spill about half of it. Be more careful there, Rut. Yeah, it's a good looking bottle of dandelion wine right there. Doesn't that just look beautiful? And there you go.
"16 bottles. Those will go down in the basement. They'll continue fermenting. I'll let the air out of the balloons every day or so. And by fall, these bottles should be ready to drink."
The bottles. You put the balloons on there because they're going to continue to ferment in those bottles. And if you cork them while they're still fermenting, those bottles will explode. The glass will actually explode. So you put the balloons on the top to give that pressure somewhere to go while that continues to ferment. And now we're going into, the third month or the second month or something like that. You see those balloons all inflated like that. You'll want to leave them like that, come down, check on them from time to time. Might want to let some of that pressure out of some of those balloons and then put the balloon back. But that's what's happening. That fermentation process is continuing to work, turning all those sugars into alcohol. What a beautiful thing here. Making dandelion wine is actually, it's just so poetic. And making it is poetic. And the way I got turned on to it was from the book Dandelion Wine by Ray Bradbury. And he writes about it so poetically.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is time. Today is the 2nd of June. My 3rd year making dandelion wine, and it has come out perfect. Perfect. As you can see, I've already had some. It tastes exactly like I've been trying to get it for the past 3 years. It's light, summery, and delicious. Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad.
Now the bottles are corked. The way you know when to cork the bottles is that the balloons stop filling up with gases. So once the balloons stop filling up with gases, you can remove them and cork them and put them in a nice cool place. I'll tell you, the best way to drink this dandelion wine is chilled, nice and refrigerated. So you drink it like you drink a white wine, You want it to be nice and cold. And a friend of mine, he says, "I'd love to have a bottle of that." I said, "I'll give you a bottle of it." I said, "You want to drink it chilled?" He didn't listen to me. Took it home to his wife. They popped it open, started drinking it lukewarm. After I had told him 9 times, be sure to chill it if you want the best experience. Didn't do it, did not listen to me. And of course, then they're like, "We don't like it." Well, no wonder you didn't listen to me. I told you to chill it. The first impression is everything. If you drink it lukewarm and you don't like it, well then what you're stuck with in your head is, "Oh, it's terrible and I don't like that stuff." Ain't that right there? Pleasant. Darn tootin' boy. I tell you what, some people are just daggum stubborn, You can't get them to do anything. They want to do it their way. Well, I guess that's true for most of us, ain't it? We like to do things our way. Yeah, you remember those boys back in the 90s? It was, what were they called? Crisscross, or wearing their breeches open backwards. They just like to do things their own way, It's all there is to it. There's nothing wrong with it. Interesting that you thought of crisscross while we're talking about dandelion wine and chilling dandelion wine. You'd be surprised how often I think about crisscross. Well, I'm getting to know you better all the time. And you. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. The bottles of wine from 6 years ago that you just saw me make. I hope I've answered most of your questions. You can see that sediment on the bottom there. Even though I filtered that really good, you can still see that sediment. But because that's been sitting there in my basement, I think I've got maybe one other bottle left of this dandelion wine that I made during the pandemic. I think I've got one other in addition to this bottle, but they've been sitting for years. A lot of that sediment has gone to the bottom. You can see there, and these have not been disturbed. So it's awfully clear, and it's still fantastic. It's chilled, won't go bad. I'm starting to feel a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs here drinking this. I'll tell you, it's got powerful intoxication, and I'm a whiskey drinker. I'm used to drinking bourbon all the time, 100 proof bourbon. And yet, when I get this dandelion wine out and I take a snort or two of it, I can feel the intoxication. Anything else that we want to talk about there, Pleasant? Boy, there's so much I want to talk about. I want to talk about why there's not such thing as world peace. I want to talk about why the sky's blue. I want to talk about, we get it. You got a lot to talk about. Lots of things. And I get a snorter or two of your dandelion wine. Suddenly, I turn into a daggum philosopher. I think that happens to the best of us. And I am. You are what? I am the best of you. Oh, well, you got a point there. He is the best of me. All right. Anything else I want to mention? Just that the whole process of making the dandelion wine itself is poetic. It's a beautiful thing. And like I said, the way I got turned on to it was by reading this book by Ray Bradbury, one of my favorite authors. He's like an author poet. And he wrote a book called Dandelion Wine. And the book is about capturing summer in a bottle. And you think about that. Capturing a summer in a bottle, storing it away down in your basement or whatever. Years pass and you get that out and you pour the summer of 2020 or 1993 or the summer of 2011 or the summer of 2055 into a glass, and for a moment you're transported back to that summer. You get to enjoy that summer all over again in a glass. Dandelion wine. Dandelions have so many health benefits. I should probably mention some of them here. Let me do that. Dandelions are nutrient dense, rich in vitamins A, C, K, folate, and minerals like potassium, calcium, iron, antioxidants, and fiber. Historically, dandelion wine, or dandelion tea, as some people call it, dandelion tea is the dandelion liquid without the fermentation. All right, so that's the dandelion tea that we boiled earlier in the video. Once you ferment it, now it's dandelion wine. But dandelion wine and dandelion tea, valued as a medicinal tonic for digestion, kidneys, liver, and overall detoxification. Antioxidant, anti-inflammatory effects, helps combat oxidative stress and inflammation, digestive and diuretic support, used for kidney, liver health, digestion, mild diuretic action, potassium rich, so may not deplete electrolytes like some diuretics, blood sugar, cholesterol, and blood pressure management. Some studies suggest dandelion compounds can help regulate these. Nutrient boost, vitamins and minerals support immunity, skin, bones, and more. Let me take a sippy poo of this dandelion wine. How's it going over there for you there, Pleasant? Oh, it's going good. Oh my god. Why is there 3 of you? There's not 3 of me, there's 1 of me. Nuh-uh, there's at least 3. Maybe 4. Maybe you ought to cut back. Have a snack, eat something. I am eating something. Okay, good. You don't want to drink this on an empty stomach. But it's healthy for me, you just said so. Well, yeah, it is. But just, eat something anyway. And believe it or not, I just this past week on X saw an article that said that dandelion roots have been shown. Let me find it. Let me find the thing. I bookmarked it, I'm sure. Don't you love it when you come across something, you're like, oh man, I'm going to want to talk about this later. So you screenshot it or something, and then you can never find it again. And then you go to clean out your phone or your tablet or whatever, and of course, there's the first thing that pops up. Yeah, so here we go. A study showed dandelion root induced cell death in over 95% of colon cancer cells within 48 hours. The University of Winchester has to translate these findings to humans. Dandelion root induced cell death in over 95% of colon cancer cells within 48 hours. 95%. Now, I'm not saying that it's some kind of miracle drug or anything, but I'm just saying it is an overlooked resource that's out in your yard. The dandelions, the dandelion leaf, the dandelion flower, there's so much you can do with it. You think about like the founding fathers of the United States, the frontiersmen, they didn't want anything to go to waste. That's why we ended up with bourbon whiskey. They had to figure out something to do with that corn and barley. And that's the way they preserved it. So, are you taking advantage of your dandelions? You might want to look into it. I'm really feeling I'm really feeling happy off this dandelion wine. And I don't have any tool to check the alcohol content of my dandelion wine, but I'll tell you, it's strong. I know that. If you have any questions for me or Pleasant, to see how I included you there, Pleasant? Man, I need to go take a nap. I'm seeing like 12 of you now. You don't even care, do you? But I did include you, and you're going to have to watch this later to keep that in mind. If you have any questions for either me or Pleasant, the Hillbilly Pickle, the Practical Woodsman mascot, be sure to leave your comments down there. Subscribe to the Practical Woodsman. Yeah, I'm so lightheaded right now. Woo! Leave your comments. Leave your suggestions. If you think you can make better dandelion wine than I can, I don't think you can, because this stuff's pretty powerful. We'll get back to you. Have a nice weekend. I'll see you in the next episode of The Practical Woodsman.